Hello, my name is Amber. I am an ADHD coach and therapist, and I am an adult with ADHD as well.
Hi, Amber. Hi, everybody. I'm Allie Miller. I am a couples communication coach and a licensed marriage and family therapist.
Awesome. I'm so glad we're together today having this conversation. We're going to have a conversation about adult ADHD and couples communication. And I really think it's going to be a great conversation because it affects a lot of the clients that I see. And I don't know about you, Allie. Do you have a lot of clients also that are affected?
Yeah, it's growing. I'm getting more and more inquiries from people about there's one partner who has ADHD or they suspect they have ADHD and they're reaching out for help. And I'm so excited to have this conversation with you because I'm not an ADHD expert. So I've learned a little bit about it just because I've had to in working with my clients, but I want to learn so much more and I want my clients to have this information. So thank you so much for inviting me to have this conversation with you.
Yes, it's a collaboration. We're bringing our great minds together with all of the good information.
Yeah, totally.
So, the very first thing that I thought we could cover is the idea of what are some common ways that ADHD affects relationships or challenges relationships at times.
Hmm.
Thought we could start with that. Does that sound good to you?
That sounds great. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So, I have some thoughts to start with for that,
Okay.
especially. So, a lot of times when dating, it's a very whirlwind, happy experience. And then when more relationship gets deeper or more serious, sometimes there's more responsibilities that get added into the relationship. And that's when things really start to be noticeable about maybe one partner having ADHD because more what's called executive functioning skills are required to be responsible for a baby, to be responsible for a house, to be responsible for a dog. And so that's when things become a little more challenging and a little more apparent that one partner has ADHD.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Totally. Because does it end up being like a dynamic where one person is like over functioning or like can you think about it like that, like over functioning and under functioning, or like one person's taking on all the responsibilities and the other person is not? Is that how it goes?
Yeah, there definitely can be. Unfortunately, sometimes it can lead to almost like one partner feeling like the parent, and then like they're parenting the child, and the child being the person with ADHD who may not be very organized or may not have good time management skills. Um, so, executive functioning skills are things like planning and prioritizing, time management, organization, even emotional regulation is an executive functioning skill. And all those things sometimes are challenges for adults with ADHD, children with ADHD.
Right.
Mhm.
Right. And it's so easy to get really like black and white about it and be like, oh, the neurotypical partner is like the good partner because they're like the responsible one. And the neurodivergent partner is the child, is the immature one or the irresponsible one. And I think that when people aren't educated about this, it's so easy to look at it through that judgmental lens. And I think that's one area where conflict can arise when it's like one partner is judging the other for not doing their share of the housework, of the parenting, of the money making, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And and then that partner who has ADHD
Mhm.
will then likely and often I've seen like feel shame
Mhm.
because I mean because for so
They're
many
not
reasons.
intending to do it. Yes.
Right. And there's a lot of judgment about people with ADHD, especially if it's undiagnosed, right? Judgment, like we said, like irresponsible or immature.
Mhm.
And that can create a really toxic dynamic where yeah, where one partner's judging the other, one partner's thinking they're better than the other or more responsible. And so we'll get into it more, but the communication approach that I teach couples is nonviolent communication, and at the core of it is this idea that there's no good and bad, there's no right and wrong. People are always trying to meet needs no matter what they're doing.
Mhm.
And so when we can apply that lens to a dynamic like this, where there's like, you know, the over functioning, under functioning, right? Judgments like this, or assessments like this, right? Then we can look at it more compassionately, like,
Mhm.
oh, what's going on for you when you do this thing or when you don't do this thing? And how does that impact me when I see you do this thing or when I see you don't do this thing? Then it's a different conversation, not based in judgment,
Mhm.
but based in like mutual understanding, trying to look at it through a more compassionate lens.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head in many regards. So, first, just that understanding that maybe one partner's brain works differently than the other partner. Always in all relationships, each person has a strength and a weakness, and you blend those strengths and weaknesses together to hopefully form a healthy relationship. And then what you're saying about judgment and shame, it can also sometimes look like one partner, the neurotypical partner who doesn't have ADHD, can feel hurt, can feel unloved, that why aren't they listening to me? Why aren't they hearing what I need? And why don't they take care of what I'm asking them to do? And then on the reverse, the other partner, one with ADHD, can also feel hurt. Like, why don't they understand me? Why are they always criticizing me? Why don't I feel loved by them? And so it's the cycle of
Right.
hurt over and over
Yeah,
on both sides.
right. And this is
Wrong. Mhm.
what?
And also what you said earlier, the right and wrong, those judgments come out.
Yeah, right. It's like it ends up feeling personal, right? And instead of saying, ouch, this is feeling personal, I feel hurt, right? What happens? Couples withdraw or they lash out. So nonviolent communication gives couples the tools to say ouch, right? That's one of the main skills and tools that, I mean, it sounds so
I like that. Ouch.
it, it sounds so basic in a way, but it amazes me how hard it is for adults to say ouch. And if more adults said ouch, there would be so much less conflict. There would be so much less pain, because when we are feeling hurt and we don't identify it and name it and share that hurt, we end up acting out of that hurt,
Mhm.
like I said, by withdrawing, by lashing out, and that's trouble. That's more pain for the couple.
That's where the cycle, like that unhealthy relationship cycle, keeps going, and we want to break that cycle. I definitely want to break that cycle. I want people to have happy, healthy relationships where they feel loved and appreciated and heard. Being heard is really important too. And if the other partner can hear ouch, it stops that partner and like, oh, okay, hold on, what do you mean ouch? I like that.
Right. Exactly. And it's ouch without blame. Nonviolent communication is all about transforming our, like, we go into blame habitually when we're in pain, right? Like, if we're hurt, most people will either blame themselves or blame the other person who they believe hurt them,
Ooh,
right?
yes, that's
So
deep.
if I'm your partner and you did something and I feel hurt, without NVC, my tendency is going to be to blame you for hurting me.
Mhm.
And then it's going to make it really hard for you to be able to hear me and hear my pain, because when people are blamed, they get defensive,
Oh, yes.
right? So it's all about how to express my hurt in a non-blaming way so that my partner can actually hear me and so that their heart can actually open to my pain.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think especially for ADHD relationships, de depersonalizing things like you were saying, and also recognizing that your partner, like separating the ADHD symptoms out from your partner. Your partner
Mm.
is who you love, but they may not be great at organizing. They might need 5 reminders to do something. And it's not your responsibility to give them those reminders, but it could be a communication about how can we set up systems
Mm.
so that I don't feel like the parent, or
Mm.
feel like you're not loving me enough to remember.
Right. I
So,
love that. So then it's about like working together collaboratively to create systems that support the couple.
yeah, and recognizing that each person has strengths and weaknesses, and especially with ADHD, those symptoms are a part of your partner, perhaps, but they aren't your whole partner.
Right, right, right. You can have ADHD, but you don't want that to be defining the entirety of who you are. And you don't want your partner letting that be the entirety of how they define who you are.
Mm-mm. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that sucks. That label can be so dehumanizing.
Yeah, and it drives people apart rather than together in
Yeah.
relationships for sure. And I definitely love the idea of like coming together, problem solving together, because we're going to fail. Like in all relationships, there's going to be mistakes, oopses, ouches. There's going to be all kinds of like not perfect human stuff because we're
Yeah.
not. Um,
Right.
and so, yeah, coming together and communicating about it with an understanding that maybe I can't expect you as my partner with ADHD to be able to do all the things that I do. I can't expect you to think the same, do the same, be the same as me. I have to respect who you are.
Right. Right. We're different.
Mhm.
I mean, different in so many ways, that being one of the ways.
Yeah.
Right. And so when we expect our partners to be the same as us, to react the same as us, to love us the same way we love them,
Mhm.
that's a recipe for a lot of disappointment.
Yes. And I think it's common in most relationships. Everybody's different. But I think, yeah, just especially in relationships with adult ADHD, really recognizing those differences is key to not
Mhm.
letting it get into that toxic zone and into the unhealthy zone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Toxic, can we just break down toxic and unhealthy?
Yeah, go ahead.
So that zone, I mean, we can do this together, but like what we were talking about, right? Where there's hurt and pain, but it's not being addressed, it's not being spoken about directly, and it's leading to attack and withdrawal.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Blame and shame,
Mhm.
taking it
And there is a
personally.
concept also, rejection sensitivity dysphoria. I'm not sure if people are familiar with that, but a lot of times adults with ADHD are very sensitive to any kind of criticism, rejection, and sometimes that goes back to like a whole lifetime of feeling criticized and rejected that they were doing things wrong, not the neurotypical way. And so sometimes, especially in relationships, talking about hurts and talking about like I want you to do something differently, it really has to be a careful approach so that it doesn't get exaggerated as a huge criticism or a huge,
Yeah.
attack.
Yeah. 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 And one of the gifts of nonviolent communication is that it teaches people how to translate your own criticism into your own observation, feelings, needs, and requests. Because we criticize, like that's just what the mind does. When needs aren't met,
I
there's
don't
like this habitual tendency, some more than others, to get critical, right? To focus outward on what's wrong with you.
Mhm.
And what MVC invites us to do is to look inward, not as in what's wrong with me, but oh, what am I needing that's leading me to criticize you? And to focus on those needs as opposed to focus on what I think is wrong with you. So it's like we move from our head, which is like where the judgments and criticisms reside, to our hearts, to what am I feeling and what am I needing? And then to making requests like, oh, I'm needing more support, right? My mind can go to like, oh, she didn't empty the dishwasher again. Like she's so irresponsible, right? So my mind will go there. And then with my NVC training, I can think, oh, okay, like I'm judging. That must mean I have some unmet needs, right? So what are they? First, let me see, what am I feeling? Oh, I'm feeling frustrated. I'm feeling disappointed. What am I needing? I'm really needing support.
Mhm.
Really needing to know we have this together, that we're like holding the responsibilities together. It's
Yes.
like, okay, what would I like to ask her to do? It's like, hey, would you be willing to have a 5-minute conversation with me tonight before we go to bed about what's going on with the dishes?
Mhm.
Right? That's an example of a request I could make. So
Yeah.
it's using that model, observation, feeling, need, request, to transform any criticism I have of my partner into what's going on for me and what would I like from them? What would I like them to do to make my life more wonderful. That's how Marshall Rosenberg, the founder of Nonviolent Communication, would talk about it. How can we make each other's lives more wonderful?
Ooh, yes. How can we do that?
Yeah.
So going to what you just said, so individuals with ADHD are very creative, enthusiastic, typically. They have lots of ideas, but finishing projects, starting projects, and remembering to do things are three common areas of strife for a lot of couples. So
Finishing projects, starting projects, and remembering to do things.
yeah, typically an individual with ADHD will have a lot of unfinished products because they started things enthusiastically, things that really interested them. They can start things that really interest them, but sometimes those projects are unfinished, and sometimes that can be house projects. And then starting things like the dishes, what you're just saying, it's not interesting to start dishes. And so that's no. So that is really hard for a lot of individuals with ADHD because there's not the intrigue, the novelty, the excitement there. So the partner, like what you're saying, the partner wants the dishes to be put up by the individual with ADHD, and that becomes the argument. But really, like what you're saying, looking like for the individual without ADHD to be like, what do I really need? Maybe I need to be heard, or I need to make sure that this person loves me because I'm kind of taking that personally. The dishes aren't in the dishwasher, and that sometimes, like, my brain tricks me into thinking that means that they don't love me.
Right.
And so
Right.
asking for that need, I need you to tell, I need you to tell me that you love me. I need us to figure out something together. What's going to work? Because I want us to have a healthy relationship where we both, what was the quote again? Like
Where
both.
we're making each other's lives wonderful.
Yes.
That?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, what would I like
Mhm.
you to do to enrich my life? And what can I do to enrich your life?
And it's not necessarily the dishes. The dishes don't enrich things, but it's more sometimes about feeling loved, feeling heard, and feeling
Right.
a balance.
Right. A balance. Right. And it's right. It's like how we interpret the dishes not being done. Right. There's like the fact of the dishes not being done, and then the interpretation of like, he doesn't love me. He doesn't care about me, because if he did, he would have done it because I asked him 10 times and I already told him what a help, how much it supports me.
Mhm.
So what other conclusion could I come to?
And he's maybe hyper focused on some project that's bringing him all the dopamine and excitement over here, whether it's tinkering or doing things or looking up stuff. But yeah, the dishes
Right.
forgotten about sometimes.
Right. So I love that you brought it to like what's going on for him. What needs is he trying to meet or meeting
Mhm.
by tinkering over there with that project, right? This is how we get out of good, bad, right, wrong thinking. It's like he's not bad because he's not doing the dishes. He's trying to meet needs and he's over here focused on this project. So NVC always brings us back to what needs are you each trying to meet? What needs aren't met? And have that be the foundation for the conversation.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. For an individual with ADHD, it could be novelty they're seeking. It could be there's an imbalance in brain chemistry. A lot of times, dopamine is pretty low or insufficient in an individual's brain with ADHD, if they're not on medication, especially. And so sometimes they're seeking new adventures, seeking new thrills, seeking new projects, and not finishing them. Uh,
Yeah,
so.
to get that dopamine in their system so that they feel up and happy.
Mhm. So that's one thing that sometimes to look at a partner like, oh, okay, they're trying to bring their brain chemistry into balance right now by doing that. So once again, depersonalizing it, they're trying to help their brain.
Yeah.
And then other things, especially because of just how much energy it takes sometimes to operate in a very linear world.
Yeah.
Sometimes individuals with ADHD feel very exhausted at the end of the day and they can't anymore. They can't function at a certain time. And so you might see them trying to take care of themselves and take care of their needs and maybe rest. But maybe the other partner is like, we have 10,000 things to do because of these children, or, because of the house needs to be worked on, etc.
Right.
Recognizing when that partner is just they're out of spoons, they're out of energy, they have spent all of their energy that day, and giving them time to rest. That's hard when we have the other partner might have needs that need to be met.
Exactly. Right. And that's where I think so much conflict comes in, when it's like
Mhm.
someone's needs aren't getting met,
Mhm.
right? Like if the partner with ADHD is resting and the partner without ADHD is doing all the chores, like that's not going to work if the partner who's doing all the chores doesn't want to do all the chores.
Who wants
Right?
to do all the chores? Yeah.
Right. I mean, maybe there's someone out there who loves it, but I think most people want that sense of balance, like, oh, we're in this together.
Mhm.
Um, and so that's why couples need like really strong communication skills, right? To be able to navigate that kind of thing when it's like, oh, you have these needs and I have these needs, and they both matter. They all matter. So like how can we address them together?
Yeah. That's tricky. That's good stuff to work on. Absolutely. And not seeing it as like, well, my needs matter more than yours. It's
Right.
that when you're in it together, trying to help complement each other's lives and live a healthy relationship, trying to meet both persons' needs is necessary.
Exactly.
Or
Exactly.
finding compromises, right? Or finding.
Yeah, I mean, the way we talk about it at NBC is finding strategies that address all the needs,
Okay.
like working together to get creative about how to address as many of the needs as possible.
Mhm.
The thing about compromise is some people think about compromise as like both people kind of lose, like, oh, I have to give up something. And
Sure.
so it's not the most exciting word. And so I like to think of it more as like, no, we're looking for strategies that we can both say yes to and both be excited about.
Mhm. Yeah. One of the questions that I was going to ask today is what are strategies and techniques that can be used to help couples with communication when one person has ADHD and to make it more fun and to not less of a ho-hum compromise is
Yeah.
I love the term gamify. So gamify things, like make it exciting and novel. Let's do this together. Let's go on an adventure. Let's do things. How can we make this more interesting or exciting? If it's dishes, you can't make dishes more exciting.
No, I did the other day. I
Oh,
did.
okay,
Yeah.
tell me.
Well, I have two strategies that are working for me lately because I don't have a dishwasher right now. So it's like dishes, dishes, dishes.
Yes.
I feel like all I do is dishes. So I put my phone, I have a shelf, luckily right above my sink, and I put my phone there and I watch my show on Netflix that I'm binging right now, Working Moms.
Mhm.
And so it was right there and I could watch it while I wash dishes. And the other is to talk to a friend, like have my AirPods in and talk to a friend while I'm doing dishes. But anyway,
And adding music too. It
yeah,
shows and talking to people, music is another beautiful thing for
yeah,
sure.
yeah.
Yeah, and so that's a beautiful way to make something not so fun into more of a fun, interesting experience. And it doesn't have to be the same show or the same music. Another way is to add like something fun right after it, something fun that both of you can do together. And okay, you work on the dishes, I'm going to work on laundry, and then we're going to go out and have this adventure together that both of us look forward to. Not
That's
just
so beautiful. I love this because it's like we're meeting our need for support, right? You're washing the dishes, that meets my need for support. And then together we're going to meet your need for fun. I mean, I also have a need for fun, right? So then we're going to address the need for fun. So it's like your need, my need. We're addressing both, not in the same exact moment, but around the same time.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah. So no one wins, no one loses.
Right. So in my house, sometimes it's my boyfriend takes the dog out for a walk, I finish the dishes, or vice versa. And then we go do something together. And we both ride motorcycles. So we ride motorcycles to go get ice cream a lot in the summer. I don't
That's
know.
amazing.
It was like a reward that both of us love. So
Yes. Yes. I love that.
it wasn't every day, but we did incorporate that several
Yeah.
times this summer.
Yeah. I really love that. Yeah. It's really attending to all the needs.
Mhm. Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's something that I think just from working with adults with ADHD, we're sometimes out of tune with what we need. And I think that might be common for a lot of humans is like
Yeah.
we just know things feel icky or we don't like how things feel at this moment. And so really trying to be mindful, and that's one of the things that I help adults with, is trying to be mindful of what needs. Is it a physical need of rest right now that you need to recharge your battery? Is it a sensory need that you need to keep your hands busy while talking to somebody because you have extra energy in your body? Um, or is it a need to just like cry sometimes? Sometimes you just have had so many emotions in one day and you just need to either exercise, cry, take a nap, figure out
Yeah.
what you need. Um,
Yeah.
that's some of the things that I really help people. There's so many thoughts with ADHD. The restless mind is the common thing, but there's also so much going on in their body that's not getting tuned into. And
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool because we have so much overlap there because that's a main thing that I help couples with is identifying their feelings and identifying their needs.
Mhm.
And I have these lists of feelings and needs that are like, that's like the main, not the main, but like the first mm, step I encourage couples to take is to start to tune in, right? When couples come to me, they're like, help us fix our relationship. And I'm like, I will. And it's going to start with you tuning into you knowing what's going on inside you, right? And the way I help,
It's her. Oh, no, no,
right,
no. You.
right,
Yeah.
right. So it's like looking inside at your feelings and your needs. And a lot of people look inside and they're like, I have no idea. And so these lists of feelings and needs really help people identify, like, oh, this is what's going on for me. And then when you know what's going on, right? Oh, I'm feeling disappointed because I'm really needing support. Then you can express that, right? Then once you know what you're clear what's going on inside you, then you have more self-understanding. And then that makes your communication so much clearer, which is going to make it so much more likely that your partner's actually going to be able to hear you.
Yes.
So it's all connected. You
Because it's
knowing
not an
you is going to
attack
help you get
anymore.
heard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not an attack anymore when you can speak from how you feel.
Yeah.
It's expressing how you feel to find a connection or find support from the other person.
Right. Right.
Absolutely. I agree with that 100%. 100%. I think that also to add to that, for adults with ADHD, um, tuning into just knowing certain things, like sometimes people are clenching their jaws or their stomach is in a knot, and those like simple things can help you be like, red flag, okay, step back. I'm getting really emotionally escalated at this time, and I don't want to attack my partner.
Right.
So sometimes it's also that checklist of needs or checklist of feelings that we can go through with clients. It can help them recognize times when they need to pause or step back and not impulsively
Oh,
give them their 2 cents or tell them something that's going to be hurtful.
right.
So when you recognize those like feelings of tension and anger, to step back.
Right. Yeah. Right. That awareness, that self awareness, that mindfulness
Mhm.
of what's going on inside you so that you can respond with more sense of choice, right? So that you're not just operating on automatic pilot.
Yeah, we want to get out of automatic pilot because that's what's been causing the unhealthy cycle. We want to break that cycle and be more aware. I love, I talked to somebody recently and they're like, we have so much wisdom in our bodies and we don't tune into it. We
Yeah.
tune into what's happening on our phones or what's happening on Netflix or Prime. And sometimes there's just so much wisdom inside of our body that we forget. Like we're walking around in this body that has a lot of needs and emotions and is pretty cool. And
Yeah. Yeah.
it's fun to share that with another person too and just be like,
Right. Right. Because that's going to help create more emotional intimacy when you're sharing your inner experience with your partner.
"Mhm."
Right. And it creates such a strong bond, such close connection.
And that can be very helpful, I think, especially have that deeper intimate bond and all the dishes and the surface stuff that's not getting done like how people want it to get done. It's not about those things. It's about keeping that deeper connection together with each other.
Yeah, right. Right. And then the dish issue isn't so triggering, right? Because you know there's this strong connection, this secure bond.
Mhm.
You know you're loved.
Heard, loved, appreciated. Yes. And oh, one last thing that I wanted to say too is praise. So praising each other, it seems so silly, but a lot of individuals with ADHD have very strong empathy too. Like if they see somebody hurt, they want to help, or if there's a crisis, they want to take care of it. So sometimes just having consistent praise in a relationship and going both ways too, that consistent praise of maybe the person with ADHD did do something small towards finishing a bigger project. Praise the heck out of that, because sometimes that individual will keep doing things if they're like, oh, it matters to the partner who I love. Okay, okay.
Mm,
It may not work all the time, but praising
right.
small things, praising big things, it's just a habit or a pattern that I think could help people, help a relationship absolutely flourish more. And uh,
Yeah.
I'm sure as a couples therapist, you absolutely praise is necessary, right?
Yeah. And NVC has a opinion on praise because it has an opinion on most things. Um, and it's not a positive opinion on praise, but it's a positive opinion on appreciation.
Okay.
So praise is you could say that praise is like the other side of the coin of blame.
Okay.
That it's coming from the same mindset of like you did something good, so I'm going to praise you. You did something bad, so I'm going to blame you. So to get out of that whole paradigm, instead we go to, oh, you did this thing. This is the observation, right? I saw you do this thing. And when I see you do this thing, I feel these pleasant feelings because I have these needs being met. So NVC always, whenever we're expressing ourselves, it invites us to come back to our own experience of like, this is what I'm perceiving, and these are the feelings I'm feeling, and it's connected to these needs. So I'm making it about me, right? So I'm appreciating what you did and letting you know why I appreciate it. I appreciate it because it met my need for support. I'm appreciating it because it met my need for love, and that makes the appreciation so much sweeter. Like,
Mhm.
oh, now I can really connect with how I'm contributing to your life when I hear how what I did really helped you meet your needs, really helped your needs get met, helped make your life more wonderful.
Yeah, and I think that is beautiful. I need to put that into my long-term memory right here. But I think that would absolutely deepen things for an individual with ADHD too, because just simple rewards, at a girl, at a boy, sometimes they can feel like kind of insincere or just surface level. But yeah, deepening it and knowing you're truly making a difference in your
Yeah.
partner's need for love or their need for understanding, like that can that would motivate me, I know, to keep doing that because I want my partner to feel good. Yes.
Right, right. That's a big part of love, right? We want our partners to feel good. And it's such a big motivator for human existence, I think, is to contribute to each other,
Mhm,
to know that we're having a positive impact on the people we care about.
mhm. Not in the sense of always having to take care of everybody else, but just recognizing that mutual exchange that when we're in this partnership, I contribute to your joy, you contribute to my joy, and we try to form like a healthy, joyful relationship together. Not joyful
Exactly.
all the time, but the whole goal is to work towards just connecting
Yeah,
in a joyful way for me, I know, in my relationship.
totally. Yeah.
Well, are there any last thoughts that you have? We actually covered all the questions without actually officially calling out the questions. I
Yeah,
feel.
this was an awesome conversation. I think it's going to be so helpful to so many people. It was so helpful to me.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, this is going to be a conversation that it can be the starting point if people want to work deeper on ADHD or couples communication. We're both going to include our website below, but if you want to speak it out loud too.
Yeah, sure. I'm at AliMillerCoaching.com, ALI Millercoaching.com. And I have private couples communication coaching packages. I have a group workshop coming up. It starts October 7th. And yeah, I have a free mini course that couples can take if they go to my website. So lots of different ways to get my support. And I would love to hear from people.
Awesome. Yes. And if there's anyone out there, an adult with ADHD who wants ADHD coaching, you can catch me at readyandfocused.com. That's my website. And I have a freebie about adult ADHD and how to just recognize the basic symptoms. And then I also have group coaching and individual coaching packages as well.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm definitely going to send when I'm working with couples where one partner or both partners have ADHD, I'm definitely going to send them to your site so that they can get that freebie and maybe get more support from you. Yeah. Yeah, it's such an important offering that you have. So I'm so
Yeah,
stoked that you're doing it.
I think both of us are just bringing good stuff to the world, and I really appreciate this conversation today. Thank you so much, Allie.
Yeah, thank you, Amber.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.